Hello, lovely ladies. Welcome to the Lessons I Learned podcast, where I share what I've learned and am still learning about marriage, mothering, friendship, health and wellness, spiritual growth, and everything in between. I'll be learning right along with you, as many of my guests have such great things to say. So get ready to listen, grow, be open and teachable, and get ready to learn and have fun doing it. Well, I've got a fun one for you today. I have my best friend joining me in conversation today. Somehow, I managed to convince Dan McCauley to join me on my podcast, and so pigs have officially flown. And surprise, surprise, we are talking about marriage. And specifically, I am asking him a question, and ultimately, I guess I'm asking it on behalf of all of you. I'm asking, how can women inspire their men to be all in their relationships? And I think his answer may surprise you. All right, here we go. Okay, this is real now. Are you ready? Oh my goodness, we're going to have so many bloopers on this thing. Okay, here I am, Danielle, and I've got my husband, Dan, today.
Hello.
I'm a little bit nervous, honey, because...
Why?
Why?
No, don't be.
Because, I don't know, some of the inappropriate things that were flying around. Well, for example, everybody... You would think filming a podcast, you'd be in a studio. Oh, no, it is summertime here, and we have two boys, and so we are locked up in our bedroom while they're downstairs with all of this equipment. You're right. We're filming we're recording a podcast, but we should be doing other things, taking this time while they're downstairs playing Minecraft.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right. We've got to be...
Let's pause.
All right. Well, everyone,
we're back.
We're going to try... I'm going to try to be civilized. Are you?
Normal.
All right. We're going to try... Listen, we got to get serious at some point here. Let me just tell you, all the ladies and maybe gentlemen who are out there watching... No, not watching. Listening.
Mm-hmm. Listening.
This is normally we're on air together. The only time we really actually do stuff together like this, we're on air. So I should let everybody know we are
Better Us.
We are a part of a marriage television show called A Better Us. It is seen on Yes TV in Canada, but it is also seen on anyone's laptop or mobile device at a better. Why don't you tell everybody? Where can people see?
abetterus.tv.
That's right. You can go there.
And it's on YouTube now.
Oh, yeah.
And they can stream it on Castle
Yes.
in Canada. Well, anywhere.
Wow.
It's a Canadian streaming service. And on the Miracle Channel.
So there's
starting in
no
September.
excuse why you shouldn't be able to watch this show.
No.
And it's a marriage enrichment show, and somehow we got roped into doing this.
I think because we need our marriage enriched.
You know what? That has probably been the best part of it, is we're actually learning ourselves.
Totally.
We are, there's a lot more smart, intelligent, mature couples on the show than we are, as you can see or hear. And I think that's been a cool part, is that we've just been able to glean things about our marriage, and now we are able to share the things that we've learned.
Yeah, I would say, like, when Ron and Ann first asked us to be on it, we were like, are you sure
You want
'Cause
us?
We feel pretty normal and not that, like, special. I feel like we're stumbling through this marriage thing, same as anyone else does.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But we're not expected to be the experts on the show. We're just telling it like it is. We're sharing. We're thankfully learning to be real about our marriage, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Mm-hmm. And hopefully the listeners out there will be able to learn something. So the whole theme of my podcast, just like my blog, is lessons I learned. It's just learning to be teachable from other people.
Right.
And today
you're going to be teachable from me?
Yeah, normally I want to teach you a lot of
Get
things.
out of here. You are in for a surprise, because I don't know that I have anything to teach on. I'm just
Listen,
joking.
I'm giving you the microphone today.
Oh, man. But
So,
in front of all these people.
Today and only today.
Okay. Deal.
So one thing that we've both said that we notice about the show and about feedback from the show, you would agree, is that most of the viewers of this television show are female. A lot of women out there.
Yeah.
And so I'm not giving any discredit to the guys, but I will say something we've noticed, and I think just generally for women, is that... It's
because they're tuning in to see pinball. Pinball Mike Clemens.
The guys are.
No, I meant the women.
Oh, the women. Yeah. Listen, we all are.
Both.
We all are.
It's all about pinball.
So... I love pinball too.
You have an uncle who didn't know we were on the show, and he was flipping channels.
Yes.
And he saw pinball, and he stopped. He's, oh, pinball. And he's watching, and then we show up on screen, and the shot changes to us. And he's like,
he was shocked.
It's Dan and Danielle. What's going on? And he didn't even know, but he stopped for pinball.
So people, even my own family, are watching for pinball. So, but he's awesome. Mike is awesome. But where I was going with that, not with the show, but I think just in general, women are more prone, wives are more prone to want to better their marriage. The show is called A Better Us. Want to, they're more all in, want to invest. Not that men don't care about their marriage. But
no, yeah, it's not that they're all in. I think it's probably that in the spectrum of life, women tend to value relationships in general more.
Absolutely.
Communication, having that friendship, having relationships, it rates a little bit higher.
Yeah, we love
again,
to talk about
we
it.
say a lot of things on the show, and we may even today, that men this and women that. It's not always exactly the same.
No.
Because Diane and Mike,
yes.
for example, they often
yeah.
skew the opposite. We say this and then, well, we're actually the opposite. And I think it's great that that's the case, because sometimes we make a lot of those generalities, and they don't necessarily all hold true.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know even for us, you would agree that I'm usually the one that is, when we're kind of a bit off track, or when I'm the one that has podcasts through, I'm listening to those. I'm doing a lot more reading than you have self-help books. That's common, I think, with a lot.
You and other women maybe are more sensitive to that. You notice when something's off, probably faster. I know Bill and Pam have talked about that. There's like an alarm. There's like an alarm system that you guys have that you're kind of you guys, you women.
Yeah.
You tend to be the ones to say, we need a night out. We need daytime. I feel disconnected.
We're coasting.
We're distracted. We're islands.
Yeah. I've heard you
islands in the stream.
I've heard you say about when you're preaching just in other things that just like marriage isn't static. Like you're either going one way or another. So if we're just coasting and we're just not putting effort into our marriage, what's the way it's going to go? It's not going to get better.
No,
it's not going to stay the
drift
same.
Never works in your favor.
Right.
When we've talked about that on the show before, when you're drifting, when you're not being intentional, even in the littlest ways, drift is usually for the negative. It's usually in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And there was a whole episode that we were on, because we're only on every other show, right?
Yeah.
And there was a whole episode that we were on, though, talking about drift and about tying our rafts together.
Yeah.
This brilliant Jaws 2 analogy that everyone doubted me from at first. No,
I never doubted you. But generally, often women may seem on the exterior more invested, or, honey, we need to get this right, or, I'm concerned for this. Maybe it's our tendency to worry. I don't know. So what I want to focus on today is from you. I want to hear from you, and I'm putting myself out there a little bit, because we have not rehearsed those people. We have not. But basically, first of all, let's start here. The podcast is called Lessons I Learned. I would love to know a few little tidbit things of what you have learned throughout our marriage, about yourself. I'm just going to leave it open-ended. Sorry
That's
to put you
dangerous.
on the spot. Yes. But let's start there, and then we'll go into what I said we would discuss.
Yeah, I think marriage is an ongoing lesson in being less selfish. Mm-hmm. Because I think pre-marriage, you can do whatever you want. You can spend your money however you want. You can spend your time however you want. But then then someone else is in the mix, and you can't just do whatever you want.
And has opinions and
has
ideas.
Opinions
and a few opinions here and there.
Lots of opinions. and in some cases, totally different priorities.
Yeah.
It depends on our frame of reference, the families we grew up in and everything, which in our case, very different.
There's not always a right and a wrong. There's just difference sometimes. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Yeah. And it's important that you learn to see it as not always right and wrong.
Right.
They're right and I'm wrong. Their way is weird. My way is normal. Normal is 100% subjective.
Yeah.
On I'm going to say non-value issues. I don't want to. That sounded too wishy-washy to me, so I want to just clarify. There's biblical normal in terms of life and stuff, but I'm not talking about right
more
and wrong.
Secondary issues. Yeah, not moral things. Yeah. And it's funny. I remember Ron and Ann, who are kind of the head of A Better Us, the show. I remember them talking about when it comes to problems in marriage. One thing that I've really put in the back of my head, and I think about when we're talking about those different things and when we're dealing with issues in our own marriage, that you're not the problem. There is an issue, and we need to work together to solve that problem. The problem shouldn't be in between us. We need to come together and put the problem over there, and how do we solve it?
Yes.
And that's been really helpful for me in learning that.
We just said that the other day.
We did?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Apparently you weren't listening.
I have memory. I have mom brain in the summer right now. I know that you've said before too, honey, I'm just going to speak on behalf of you because I know you have said this before.
Tell me my own wisdom.
Your own wisdom. You have said that God uses us like sandpaper. Can you explain that to people? How am I like sandpaper to you?
You're rough. No, it's because we all come with rough edges. We're broken, we're imperfect, and when we live close proximity to someone else who has different rough edges than us, those rough edges we rub off on each other. It wears off on each other, and we smooth each other out.
Yeah.
So that's obviously that friction is not fun, but it's God's tool. Their spouse is God's tool that God is using to work in your life. Some people, I think, go into marriage thinking the purpose of marriage is to make me happy. They're going to make me happy. They're going to make my life better. That's not always the case. I mean, hopefully, ultimately, yes, that's in the mix. That's part of it. But we're kind of subjecting ourselves by getting married to God using that other person as a tool in our lives, and the shaving off or the subtracting of parts of us that he maybe wants to do is not necessarily happy or fun.
Yeah. So,
and I think that's why commitment is needed because there has to be that commitment, those vows that we say that keep you in the mix of that while it's not fun and while that friction is there.
Right.
The friction isn't something to run away from. If we spend our life running away from friction, then we're going to stay the same and we're not going to improve. If we just run away from all our problems, we're just going to bring our problems everywhere.
So not everybody listening may know the Bible. Or its contents, but biblically speaking, there's another term for that. It's called iron sharpening iron. A lot of people. I was
going to say that.
We call it sandpaper, but so that's a term you think of is that
it's the rubbing of those two knives together.
Yes.
We make each other better.
We make each other better.
Make each other sharper.
That's right. And something that our pastor said several weeks back that stuck with me, just that goes right in there with this, is he was talking about love, and right away I think of who I live with and obviously who I love and who I'm married to. So he said, it's really important to think about what is it like to be on the other side of me.
Yeah.
And that hit me because I was thinking, oh boy. So we live with each other. We know every part of everything. We see the good, but the bad, the ugly. And man, when we love each other, it's putting each other first. Marriage is so much more about being selfless than we would care to admit. Mm-hmm. And we have to put one another first. And part of that is staying conscious of what is it like to be Dan right now when he's talking to me. Not in this conversation, but when I'm nattering on.
Good, I can tell you that.
Oh, well, you're sweet, honey. But when I'm nattering on at you, or when I'm,
Yeah, there's some moments, sure. But I was away. I was away that week when Pastor Pete preached that, and so I still haven't had a chance to listen to that message.
It was really good.
That one line that you said, you told me about, was enough to be a gut shot. Like, wow, that is such a good question. What is it like to be on the other side of me? And rarely. Or there would be few other circumstances in life where that would show up as strongly and as obviously as in a marriage.
Yes.
What's it like to be married to me? What's it like to, wake up beside a grumpy person, or whatever?
Yeah.
Although I think I'm better since I'm off coffee.
I think you have been better too. So let's stay decaffeinated.
Okay.
Just putting that out there.
I just nailed my own coffin by saying that.
So for our listeners, I think that's just one little nugget to take away before this is all free stuff because we haven't even really dove? What is the right?
I don't know. You're the author.
And now I'm a podcast person and I can't
say it however you want.
You know what I mean. Before we dive into this, that's right. Let's tuck that away for all of us is what's it like to be on the other side of me? What is it like to be my spouse right now in this situation when I'm going at them or when I'm just only thinking of myself, when I'm making plans for the day or, whatever it is. We just always have to remember we're living with someone who has to live with us. And I think that alone
that's
is huge.
A wrap right there. That's enough.
No, we got more you have to stay around.
I'm not trying to get out of it.
You have to stay around. Before we continue, if you're liking what you're hearing and you want more, head over to patreon.com/Macauleys to support our ministry and keep us going. Now, let's get back to the conversation. Okay, honey. I'm throwing myself out here because I'm going to just let you answer. What can I do? Since I said marriage is so much more about being selfless and doing. Like if you look at the love chapter in marriage, it's all about action. It's all about, I'm reading a book by Bob Goff. It's a very popular one. It's called Love Does right now. And the world... the Hallmark Channel, the Bachelor, Young and Restless, everything out there, movies, Tom Cruise, whoever it is.
Hallmark Channel.
Shh, don't tell people my weakness. Anyway.
Hallmark.
Anyway, the world tells us that love is a feeling and that we can fall out of love. And often if we do, it's because we're not doing those things. We're not serving that person. And if you unpack the love chapter, all those different things that love is, they are all things that take action. So being patient, being kind, being, all long-suffering, all those different things. You wanted to say something.
I was going to say, I'm sorry. Is there a question?
It's coming. It's coming. I'm just setting things up. So the question basically is, what can I do for you? And ultimately, I want the women listeners out there to think of themselves and their men. What can we do to get our men, to get you more invested in our marriage and in us, and to want to be in it, to want to continue, to want to improve?
So you're saying statistically, it's the women that are more engaged, more intentional about their marriage.
Right.
Because we were saying, like, we hear back things like in the comments from A Better Us, we hear things from men saying,
mm-hmm.
my wife
dragged me into it.
Yeah, my wife makes me listen to it. Or my wife told me go to the website and watch this episode starting at 6 minutes and 24 seconds and look at what Pinball said or whatever.
Yeah,
right there.
It's like passive aggressive stuff. But
yeah.
wait.
Or there was another one. She said, I play it loud in my house so that my husband has to hear it.
Right. We're forcing
I'm not
it
mocking
upon
those
you.
things. I'm just saying, well, I'm making a little light of them. But
that could be annoying for husbands, I imagine.
Sure. So
it would shut them down.
So you're saying without twisting arms behind backs.
Right.
What
can we do just living our lives and serving you? And if we, what can we do to make you want to invest in our marriage? And ultimately what it comes down to is us investing in you, starting the ball rolling, being sacrificial, doing...
Since you are the one that thinks about it more and is more intentional about it.
And that's what I was talking about, all
what's
that stuff.
What's the better way to do that than being passive aggressive about it?
That wouldn't turn you off from
Okay, so my first thought, I remember a book that you read called The Power of a Praying Wife.
Yes. Wow, good for you. Yeah.
That's a good one.
There's a Power of a Praying Husband too. Did you know that?
I did. I have it.
Oh, you do?
I read it.
I probably bought it for you.
You did. Speaking of passive aggressive.
That was when we were younger.
Yes, it was.
I just probably snuck it on your bedside table.
Yeah, I see the books that show up there.
Yeah, and collect dust.
But that's a good one, and that's kind of, I think of the movie War Room in that one.
Oh, so good.
So she's praying for her husband. So that's one way to get us is let the Lord get us.
Yeah.
Because sometimes...
So nag him instead of nag you.
Hey. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the more direct approach could be more of a turnoff.
Yeah.
I remember, and I found this to be true, I think we have better luck having a significant conversation surrounding doing something.
Okay.
Surrounding like a date night.
Okay.
So as opposed to...
you don't just want to sit down with a coffee on the couch and have a conversation.
Have a deep heart-to-heart. Deep thoughts with Danielle.
Yeah, no.
We've done that.
Probably not so much.
You can do it, but it's a little... It doesn't happen as naturally as opposed to, I don't know, having a conversation while we're doing mini golf.
Ooh, okay.
Or on a walk. We do that a lot.
Yep.
We go on a lot of walks.
Yep.
And we probably have some of our best talks and even prayer times on a walk.
Mm-hmm.
I know
men are doers, not just...
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And we've learned that just in the show and just in the last few years. Bill and Pam, Farrell, just lots of things like that. We do a little bit better when we're doing something. Mm-hmm. And also, I remember from Bill and Pam Farrell, and I found this to be true as well, that men. And they say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Mm-hmm. That we are more responsive and more. We have. I'm gonna butcher the way to say it. Like we're more ready to talk. We're more.
Yeah, I remember this.
Better
something
emotions.
Scientific or
yes, there's something biological that happens in us after we've had a good meal.
Okay.
We're more so. So
that saying is true.
Yes. So back to the date night thing. Have a meal. You're eating. We went on a date night recently. You were craving barbecue. We had barbecue.
Oh man.
And in the middle of you starting to get the warm barbecue feelings, then it's a little easier for the guy to then mix in some conversation and mix that maybe is a need that the woman has, or maybe there's some legit things that need to be talked about. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit easier sell than doing it on an empty stomach. Yeah. And you're going to have a hangry thing that's going to turn into something ugly.
Something and hungry. It's funny. Just this morning, we had to have a serious conversation with our son. And I actually said, let's take him on a walk because I've noticed that if he's just looking at me, and I'm trying to have a conversation, he's just going to shut down more, but it's easier. It's more comfortable for him if we're kind of doing something. I remember Anne Maines talking about her son
playing video games with Eric.
Yeah, he'd never talk, but then
sit down and play Nintendo with him. And all of a sudden, all these things would roll out of his mouth about the day and how it went, which otherwise would be like pulling teeth. Now, that's an 8-year-old or whatever it was. But you know what?
A grown-up 8-year-old, same thing.
Excuse me. No, but the principle's the same. Yes.
Right. So it's cool that you mentioned Bill and Pam. Hi, Bill and Pam. If you ever watch this, we love you. They're one of the much smarter and more mature couples that are on kind of featured on our show that I was mentioning.
Yeah, and Bill edited your book,
yes.
and we've toured with them a bunch, and just love them.
Yeah, so you mentioned them, and actually, it's cool.
They wrote, most people would know them, especially, if not from other things, from Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. That's their, big bestseller book that kind of started it all off. And I don't know if it was their first, but now there's 40-something books.
Yeah, we could probably do an entire podcast on that book alone and how it's actually helped us in our marriage. Yep. But we're not going to go there today. What I actually dug out was when I was thinking about this podcast and the question I was going to ask you and hope that you were going to help the women out there listening to help their relationship is... Pam has a book called Red Hot Romance Tips for Women. And
she looks like Red Hot. Isn't there Red Hot Monogamy too?
They have Red Hot Monogamy, yeah. They've got a lot of red hot stuff.
Red hot.
So anyway, I looked up in there, and it's funny. So many women, and me included, I fall into that sometimes. We view our husbands more as a project than a person. We want to fix them. We want to fix the problems. And so many times it comes back to we need to take it on ourselves. We need to do something ourselves first. And that will probably fix the entire situation. So she actually has some tips for women. I'm going to go through and you can just kind of, as a man, say, hey, yeah, she's totally right. Or, if it sparks any thoughts in you. Because I tell you, I was convicted a little bit and thought, I need to do more of this or less of this or whatever. So let me just shoot out some of these tips of how women can be not just more enticing to men, but just more...
You can work with us in our strengths and weaknesses with an understanding of our perspective and where we come from.
Make men more invested in us.
Because sometimes coming head at us might not be the best approach, like we've been saying. Right.
So it's funny you mentioned like a date night and mini golf and all that. But her first one is have fun together. Yeah. Men are more, women want love and romance and all that, but men really feel connected when they're having fun.
It's through friendship.
Yes, friendship. Like you want to, you don't want me to be a bump on a log.
If we play crib or sequence or...
Yeah, games together. Or tried new things. I remember recently so first of all, every couple out there should really make a priority to have regular date nights, whether it's whatever for you. Once a week. We had friends who could do once a week every Friday night. We just can't do that financially, but we do try to go out a couple times a month. And we have the luxury to do that during the day.
If you count even going on a walk, though, then we're way up there.
Yeah, totally. So it doesn't have to be an official date.
Yeah, so it might not be that often we go out for dinner together or something, but we're able to go on the walking path right by our house a lot. Yes. Even with the kids are, they're whatever that is, 100 yards away.
Right. And so Pam says men feel more attracted to you after you've had fun with them. And so try to be interested in what they're interested in. And I know this is the case for you. Like you love movies. And this has often been a sore spot for us is because we are so on either end of the spectrum for what
you know what? You used to do those things more with me than you do.
Yeah, so that was one of the things I was convicted by.
And this is true. This is true. Like when you talk about losing the lovey-dovey feelings or whatever, if you're not feeling those things, you should go back and do the things that you did when you're dating.
Right feelings follow right actions.
Yes, we did a lot more of those fun things when we were dating, and I think probably every couple does. Dates, you go and you invent fun things to do. The guys maybe being more creative and thinking of taking her to the this or the that they haven't done, and making those memories together. And then I guess maybe we slack off.
Yeah, totally. Or become selfish because, to be honest with you, I can't stand most of the movies that you want to watch. But I was, more prone to, or I would just kind of suck it up and go to the movies with you.
What we did just recently, we went to see that really dumb Men in Black movie.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It was really bad.
And that was me serving you.
But I didn't like it either.
Yeah.
Like, neither of us really liked the movie that much. But I actually did. I appreciated that you went and saw this sci-fi movie. It was really
and I
the
didn't
only
complain about it.
No,
right.
and you didn't fall asleep either. Yes. But the fact that the movie wasn't that great, and I didn't even really care to see it that much. It was just the only thing. But it was still just a fun thing. I just like generally going to the movies. I had low expectations for the movie, but the fact that you did it and you went with me, even though I know that would never be a movie you would want to watch.
It was still a plus.
It meant
positive.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so you would agree with that. Okay, let me just see my notes here. Oh, and she says, you're going to be together, or I might have said this, you're going to be together much longer than your kids will be with you. And so you want to be together. You want to have fun together. You don't just want to be roommates. You want to be best friends.
Right. So your marriage is hopefully going to outlast the kids leaving the house again.
Yes.
And if you don't spend time investing in your marriage, then when they're gone, you're going to be two strangers. As you usher the last kid out the door, you're going to be two strangers looking at each other going, now what?
Right. So I'm just going to fly through the next few because a couple of them I want to land on a little bit longer, but you can just respond however you want with these. So another one she picked out was be classy, ladies. Don't talk down about people. Be giving, think of others, be kind. Men appreciate women being classy and not rude and disgusting. So just throwing that out there, girls.
And negative.
And negative. Yes, you do not like when I'm whining or complaining or something like that. It kind of shuts you down for me too.
Yeah, it's kind of a turn off. I don't know if it is for all guys, but for me it is.
Yeah. So you'd agree.
Because my mommy always said when I was growing up, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yes.
So I maybe for that reason, I'm quite sensitive to not nice things.
I told you that I was convicted when I read through these. Okay, so the other one on that note is be optimistic. So don't always be negative. Don't be down in the dumps. And this is totally true of us. You don't like that. Be interesting. Don't just be a bump on a log with nothing to offer. So I think you would say that it's, if I have something interesting to say, if I know you're really into politics, so the more I learn about politics, don't get them started, people. The more that I learn, you find it interesting to have a conversation with me. So yeah, that's also learning about what you're interested in too.
Right. That's a long part of being fun, I guess, too.
So the next one she says is be flirtatious. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, one of those things, if you don't feel into your marriage anymore, if your husband doesn't feel into you, go back and do the things that when he did feel into, which is obviously being flirtatious. And you can still be married for 20 years and be flirtatious. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
In fact, this one story that I totally had to share from Pam's book, The Red Hot Romance Tips, I really chuckled at this one. Basically, friends of theirs, okay, I'm just going to read it to you because it's really funny. My husband and I are in our late 50s, but we still enjoy a fun and flirtatious relationship. Naturally, I was intrigued one day when, in the middle of a discussion about our retirement property, I heard him say, "By the way, we're going to have lots of morning sex up there." Dan's eyes and ears just perked up. Once I heard that, it was all I could think about. My imagination ran wild, and I wondered why our physical relationship would be so special up there. I smiled playfully and watched with amusement as my man went on and on about the building project. Finally, he stopped and asked me what I was smiling at. I replied, "We're going to have lots of morning sex up there, huh? I'm anxious to hear why it will be so extraordinary." He stared at me with a confused expression for a moment. Then his look softened and he smiled at me. He kindly stated, "Sweetheart, I said there will be a lot more insects up there." I thought that was good. She thought he said morning sex.
So they'll stay under the covers to get away from the insects and have more sex.
Yes. But anyway, just a cute little story to illustrate. It's fun to flirt. She, had a good moment there, even though it totally wasn't him being flirtatious.
But it may have planted the idea of morning sex in their brain, and then who knows?
There you go. Good on them. I hope they're retired and happy right now.
Insects.
So the last one, actually, okay, let me do this one first. Be appreciative. Say thanks and applaud him. I really do try to do this. Like, you're great with doing dishes and doing things without being asked, but I try not to take the things you do for granted. I hope you recognize that, but I do often say thank you, even though, it could be easy for me to say, well, I do that too all the time, and I don't hear a thank you. Just say thank you, ladies. Just say thank you.
I have heard that sentence before, though, too.
Okay. Well, thanks for keeping it real. Okay, so the last one I wanted to linger on here, and I know you will have no trouble agreeing with this one. Ladies, the men want us to be respectful. It's huge. In fact, another book tells us it comes first before anything else. And we've talked about this on the show, that even before sex, ladies, the men prefer respect. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. It's one of the top core needs. I think men feel empowered when they feel respected, and to feel disrespected is to, I don't know, it takes the wind out of your sails. It loses motivation. You lose motivation to want to do any of those other things. So that's one of the reasons I think probably that some of the passive aggressive or coming head at us to try and move us and motivate us in a certain direction that you want can sometimes fail, is because there's a perceived disrespect there. Not always right. I'm not saying that that's a right thought process, but it could probably short circuit things.
Because we want love, but you're not feeling loving towards us if you're feeling demeaned or like we're parenting you, or
yeah, when you feel like you live with a second mom or something, and it's kind of it's not something that you feel lovey-dovey about, probably, right, unless you just really like your mom.
Right. Yes. I'm just thinking of a lot of Everybody Loves
Raymond
I
knew
episodes.
You were. I was too.
We like watching that show.
That one where Robert has the cutout of Marie, the giant standee Marie bride.
Oh,
and he puts it in the window or something.
Oh, yeah, we don't.
He was
want
like, that. What do you want Deborah to be more like? I just want you to be more like her, or something like that. I think that's that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watch too much of that show.
We do. But basically, women, we want to make our men's lives less stressful, not more stressful. How can we help you? How can we serve you? If we know, for example, okay, we're getting real again. This is something I've had to learn over time to serve you is, if I want to talk about the finances or something serious like that we need to address, you don't want me to bring that up anytime around bedtime, like when you're trying to shut down and relax and all of that, like that just stresses you out. And for me, it actually somehow comforts me. Like I'm thinking, okay, we're getting things organized and all that. And throughout the years, I've had to learn and be conscious. Okay, I'm going to shut my mouth about this, and I'm going to find a better time to talk about it, and I'm going to make your life less stressful, and that's serving you. And I could think of a lot of other ways that that would play out, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I mean, and I do the same with you on other subjects and things. And you just really know the other person and what are hot button items. And, I know sometimes you'll say, well, I'll say this is not a good time to have that discussion. And you'll say, well, there's never a good time. But I mean, maybe not. Maybe some subjects have been pushed off too long or something. But the point is, there really are some times that are better than others. Like there's wisdom, to when a subject should be brought up. Even back to that meal thing. It's the difference between having a serious discussion pre-eating. Yep. When you might be hungry, it's just going to go off the rails because of biology. And because we just don't process as well when we're hungry and we're shorter tempered or whatever, as opposed to when we were satiated that way.
Mm-hmm. So everybody's different, but it's a matter of serving your spouse that way. Ooh. What did the boys say? Fist bump or something like that. Yeah.
Serving your spouse by knowing what those are. You've learned those, and that doesn't mean that conversation can't or shouldn't happen. It just needs to happen, at the right time. Mm-hmm. And I can think of another one. Sometimes, serving in ministry. I remember when we were pastoring in particular, and even just first married, serving in ministry, learning that we had this tendency to have these blowout fights on Saturday nights.
Yes. Yep,
the night
true.
Before Sunday morning when you're on church and ministry and you need to sleep, there's all these things, and it's like, this is an attack of the enemy. He's, I have a job to do in the morning. I have to lead 3 worship services or whatever, and there is a better time to have this discussion than 11 o'clock on a Saturday night when we should be in bed.
And that is the enemy, but it's also, we have to take ownership of that, and I have to know when to speak and when to
and realize this is not for now.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So, okay, just to wrap this up, there's one more. There's 2 more, but I'm going to kind of condense them into one. And I would agree with this. Confidence. Men are attracted to confidence and taking care of ourselves. So, obviously, you live with me. You see the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm not always looking like, I'm ready for TV to be on a bed or rest. I don't walk around like that. But it's important that women, we take care of ourselves. We carry ourselves. Also, this is individual, but I'm going to put this out there. I do my best to make myself available to you so that you don't have, and yes, I mean...
Bow chicka wow wow. That's what you mean.
I couldn't even say it. Anyway, you know what I mean.
I'll say it.
I wasn't going to say it that way, definitely.
No?
But to make it's important that we make ourselves available to you. And I have a personal rule.
How'd you say it if not bow chicka wow wow?
Sex.
Oh, just say it. Just go out and say it.
Stop. Our children they could be listening on the other side with a cup. Anyway, I have a personal rule that to never say no. And also just on the confidence thing. Now that's every couple to each their own, like that's up to you guys. But not that you don't have to take ownership for your mind and all of that stuff, but I want to do whatever I can to have you be attracted to me and stay attracted to me and to be fulfilled in our marriage. And we'll move on from that because it's really awkward. We're not like some of the other marriage podcasters who can just talk about all that stuff like it's nothing.
We'll get there.
I'm going to ban our parents from listening to this. But anyway, on the confidence thing, I think that you would agree with me, and I think we've even gone through this lately because, oh man, we spent a couple weeks at camp. We are like I'm bursting at the seams now I'm saying it, but you actually don't want me to say, oh, I feel gross. Oh, I feel ugly today. Oh, I feel so fat. It just does something to you. Like, I don't need to hear that. Men are attracted to confidence. That's what I hear. And I hear from you and I hear from the experts. So is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
because I don't necessarily see you that way.
Right.
You're still a cot to me.
Aw.
So why?
I know. I noticed you checking me out during this podcast too. It almost made me derail from my thoughts.
Press pause. We'll be right back. You noticed that, huh? Okay. Anyways, what was I going to say now? Now I can't think straight.
Confidence is important.
Yeah, it helps, and so you might feel a certain way about yourself, but your spouse doesn't necessarily, and you can spoil that by being negative instead of confident, because the attraction is much more than a couple extra pounds you might feel you might be carrying at any given point or something like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way.
Well, you get married when you're younger and we're both 20 something or whatever, and in our case, and our bodies are different then than they are now, and there's an evolution to all of it, and there's allure at every stage.
And according to Pam, it isn't just the physical stuff. It's all of this stuff combined.
Right. It's much more than just that.
Yeah, it is
so
the
why
being
spoil
optimistic, being flirtatious, being classy, being respectful. Like that all rolled up together makes us irresistible to you. And it's not just about our physical appearance.
Bill Ferrell would say, "Let me be your mirror."
Aw, yeah, that's a good line.
It is.
So duly noted on all this. So thank you, honey, for being my guinea pig and just being open to sharing from a man's point of view how the women can just help us understand what we should be doing better, and just in order to help our men
be a better
yes. I'll let
we
you
just
do
chose
the singing.
different keys.
Yeah, that
It's
didn't
okay.
work. But yeah, we knew where we were going. So hopefully this is just food for thought. So for the women out there, maybe one day we could do another, like the opposite end. And, I could probably go on and on about what the women want from the men.
What women want.
We
a
just
45 episode series.
All about the Hallmark Channel. And yeah, we want romance. We want security. I could just go, yeah, we'll end it there. We'll do a different one. But thank you for coming on. And it wasn't so bad.
It wasn't so bad.
We didn't, totally do a nosedive. And we kept ourselves together. So good on us.
Good on us.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Love you.
Love you.
Dan is the number one person that God has put in my life to learn from. And it's the same with your spouse. They are put there to make you better. Marriage is an ongoing lesson on being less selfish. Ultimately, the goal of marriage is to help us become more like Christ, to make us better. And a healthy marriage will always require effort. So look for ways forward instead of ways out. I think having a conversation with your spouse about how you can serve them better is a great start. And for any men who happen to be listening out there, I want to give you this piece of advice. Chase her, even if she's already yours. I hope you've been encouraged, challenged, and have learned something new today. It is my passion to help women become the best version of themselves with God's help. All the ministry we do, we feel deeply called to, and we live by faith doing it. Would you consider supporting our ministry at patreon.com/Macaulays? That's patreon.com/MACAULAYS. You may see a link on your screen nearby if you're tuning in using YouTube, SoundCloud, or my website. But if not, that's where you can go to find us. We are grateful for every one of you who believe in us and champion our ministry. Lots and lots of love, Danielle.